The Woman in the Red Dress, a poem. Plump, chubby, overweight. Nice ways of saying that I was not what I should be. I wanted to be okay. Okay meant thin, like the pretty girls with coy smiles and cute little dresses. So I learned what to do to win the favor of the people I was dependent upon for validation. My fear triggered nightmares about being fat, terrified that I would wake up and discover that my body had betrayed me once again. It usually came without my awareness, sneaking up on me, stealing my life. My heart pounded in my chest until I realized that it was only a dream. The women in my family were always on a diet, forever complaining about how fat they were. I learned early on that fat was something to be avoided at all cost. It became a taboo that would haunt my life. I was either trying not to get fat or dieting to stay thin. Dad thought plump was better, but the women in my family, with me following their lead, aspired to a much smaller proportion. Whenever Dad said I looked good, rare though it was, that was a sign that I was bigger than I should be, nearing the danger zone, where plump turned to fat. I wanted his approval, but not that way. I wanted to do what Mom always did. I assumed she knew how a woman should be. I wanted to remain small, to be invisible, and avoid the judgment and rejection that came with not being good enough, with being more than I should be. Dieting became a way of life. New crazy diets to try, more deprivation to endure. But somewhere in the recesses of my body, I yearned to fill out, to claim more space for myself in the world. I looked at women who seemed unafraid to be full and ripe, and I envied them, wishing all the while that I had the courage to allow myself that much abundance. Whenever I gained weight, before the fear set in, there was a fleeting moment of elation, an unexplainable visceral excitement that rushed by me at the speed of light, leaving me with an impression of the taboo sensuality of flesh. With practice, I learned to slow it down, just enough to catch a glimpse of what it must be like to feel at home in an ample body. When my body was fuller, I felt more womanly, sexier in a way I could not explain. It was taboo, something I would never admit to anyone. After all, we were all striving to be thin, to remove whatever nature gave us, to deny our womanly curves. I was different enough as I was. I couldn't be the fat kid again, too. The moment always passed, and my mind kicked in, telling me that it was time to diet again. I would steel myself and push abundance out of my mind, planning the next strategic move to abolish whatever fat lingered where it should not be. But I secretly wished that I could allow myself to feel the juiciness of having flesh, of being rounder and softer, more womanly. I saw a woman once that I will never forget. She wore a red dress that blew in the wind as the boat we were on sailed into the sunset. She was older, like me, and larger than most women would call acceptable. Her dress was made of gauze, barely covering her form underneath. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She mesmerized me so. I felt the sense of freedom she relished as the wind blew her dress up, revealing her full, round, naked bottom. Her breasts, unrestrained, swayed with the boat. Oblivious to any impropriety, she held her head high, facing into the wind. Her long blonde hair flew behind her, loose and wild, holding a cocktail in her hand, with her adoring husband at her side. She was the epitome of woman to me, a woman unashamed of her body, celebrating life. I came back from that boat ride with a new ideal, a new vision of woman. I saw the possibility of being larger and fuller, not fitting the ideal our culture fed us, dancing my own dance in my own way, and still being okay, still safe. I want so desperately to let loose, to allow myself to expand, to enjoy my womanly virtues. I yearn to purge myself of the vision I was given as a child of what a woman should be. I don't want it anymore, but it still whispers in my ear. I had no examples growing up, no women to show me another way. Men criticized my body. Magazines and TV stars flaunted skinny, twiggy shapes. I thought that was it, the ideal. The woman in the red dress shifted the paradigm for me. She didn't fit, and she seemed not to care. She loved herself just the way she was, and out of that, she was captivating. What if I let loose, allowed myself to fill my body with more of me, with more life and pleasure and celebration? Something in me shifted the day I saw her. Something so old in my core that I was never the same. My eyes opened to a new way of being that made room for more life, more pleasure, and more of me. My fear was there, but my courage had rallied. I knew what I would have to let go of to be like her, to be who I truly was meant to be. I wanted her freedom, so I had to see what was in the way of having that. I had to see where I was holding on so that I could decide to let go. With strong intention, I faced my fears. Trust was always at the bottom of every challenge I was given. Trusting myself, trusting others, trusting that no matter what, I am safe and loved. I am okay. My destiny calls for me to be all that I am, shifting the paradigm for others as well, righting the wrongs that control our sense of worth and freedom. The rules of our culture say that fat is taboo. We hide our obsession with pleasures of the flesh, relegating them to seedy stores and out-of-the-way places. We are a culture of hypocrisy, puritanical in its ideals, hedonistic in nature, worshiping excess, ignorant in the ways of abundance. We say that we are a place where differences are valued, all of us free to be the unique individuals that we truly are. But fat is still taboo. Flesh is not admired. Instead, we are told to get rid of it in any way that we can. I abused my body to abolish fat, not to be healthy, but to fit the ideal. I didn't have the wisdom or the courage to be like the woman in the red dress. Until now. Now I see. I have learned my lessons well. Expanding into myself is a source of joy and wonder. The woman on the boat that day is me. I saw myself as I truly am, mirrored back to me as her dress took flight and her lush, rounded body was kissed by the wind. I saw the prize at the end of the journey, and my courage stirred deep within my belly, begging to play a bigger game. I no longer fit into the body I once had. I cannot shrink again. My soul has awakened and swelled to a much larger size. I am not the same as I once was, hiding abundance from myself. Too much of me has been revealed to ever hide again, or to allow myself to be taken prisoner by lies.